So we had a guest on. This was what, about a month ago, maybe, right, Kane? Back in October. Longer than that. Gosh, it seems like it wasn't that long ago. We had a guest on who was a teacher in Florida and was displaying in his classroom a quote from Charlie Kirk, right? Along with other very famous quotes from other notable people. And that's the image right there that Juan is showing you. It said, never underestimate the power of your voice and the impact you can have on the world when you speak up for what you believe in. So that's a great quote. That's not political. No. We talked to him and his attorney at the time about this because he got in trouble with the school for having that up in his classroom. And there was a lot of stuff that happened. He ended up having to kind of fight the school on it. Kane has kept in touch with him, and there are a lot more developments to this. What happened after he was allowed to keep this up in his classroom? But what happened after, Kane?
Yeah, largely after his appearance on the show here, the school board did back down, and they did allow him to keep that up. But then they announced shortly after that he was under investigation for, quote, alleged misconduct. So I'd like to hear how that's been developing.
For alleged misconduct. Yeah. And then you also wrote the foreword.
Yeah, he decided to write a book
that he wrote about it.
And I was honored that he asked me to write the foreword, so I did.
And just to clear, it's a book about free speech. This is the cover. It's Quiet Courage in the Classroom. One Teacher's Stand for Freedom and the Future of America's Youth. Okay, yeah. I mean, it's a book about free speech. Yeah, right? That makes sense.
So he publishes it himself, self-published.
Right.
Puts it out on Amazon. Amazon takes it. It's up for a couple of days. It makes it to number 40 in just 2 days on their educational biographies list. And then Amazon pulls it. And they pull it after sending him an email that just simply states, sorry, but we found that your book was, quote, offensive. So that was weird. He also, in this amount of time, found out, because the principal that was there at the school at the time he originally was asked to take the poster down has gone and moved on to another school. They now have a new principal, and apparently this new principal has been instructed to interview 6 of his students randomly to get an overall view of his quote-unquote alleged misconduct while teaching conservatism or teaching capitalism and teaching the evils of communism, which, by the way, is required by Florida law.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So he's still has a target on his back from the school board. I guess they're still reeling over the fact that they had to allow him to exercise his free speech.
And I think what you just mentioned is incredibly important as well, because DeSantis signed legislation enhancing their educational standards on educating about the evils of communism, so that he's just following the law. Yeah. So we have William Loggins, whose book, and as you can see, I'm going to make sure, Quiet Courage in the Classroom, One Teacher Stand for Freedom and the Future of America's Youth. William Loggins joins us now via video. William, it's good to see you. It's good to see you again, but also not good, because now they won't leave you alone. I'm trying to understand the purpose of this new investigation. What do they think that they're going to do that they weren't able to do previously when you had to deal with us?
Well, Dana, I had people tell me, I actually had someone from the district call me. I can't mention any names, but that person told me that, there is a target on my back. The district apparently was embarrassed by this poster incident. So it's back on the 15th of November, 3 weeks ago. I received an email from the district telling me that I was under investigation for alleged misconduct. And that's all they said in the email. And by the way, I haven't heard anything else from them up to this point, to this day. But the principal that just recently transferred, he was still there at the time, and I went and talked to him, and he told me that it was a student, an anonymous student, had complained that I was teaching conservative values in class. And that I kind of put 2 and 2 together, because the day before that, I was teaching, like both of y'all mentioned, the state mandated course on evils of communism. Unfortunately, I'm the only social studies teacher in my school that does follow that mandate. But I was teaching that, and I had a slide show on PowerPoint. And one of the slides, I was talking about how socialism turns into communism and how young people are attracted to socialism. And I had pictures on the slide of Bernie Sanders and Mamdani and uh, Lenin and
Admitted socialists, Mamdani and Sanders, admitted socialists.
right, exactly. And a student got up and stormed out of the classroom. So, that's, I'm sure that's where the anonymous complaint came from. But the thing that's concerning to me is the fact that the principal that was transferred told me that that's not normal procedure for them to interview students after only one anonymous complaint.
Yeah, that with one, so they now, because of one complaint, now they're trying to find 6 students. I guess what with the purpose to cultivate this narrative against you, even though you're
Yes.
simply following the educational mandate. And also, again, just to point out, the people whose photos that you showed and that you discussed in the slides have literally said that they are socialists. So that's, I'm failing to see how anybody could be offended over that. So it seems like they're trying to find people to confirmation bias against you.
Yes, I was called down to see the new principal yesterday, and that was the first time I'd heard back about this investigation. But he told me that he was instructed by the district to interview 6 students from my classes randomly. He stated and he would let me know what the outcome was soon. So I'm waiting to hear what that's about. But I'm not worried about it. I do my job. My students are so important to me, and I will always tell them the truth, and I will always stand up for them and help them stand up for themselves.
Yeah. We're talking with William Loggins, the Florida teacher who was first targeted because he featured after Charlie Kirk's assassination. He got the attention of the school district because he had just an inspirational quote of Charlie Kirk in his classroom along with other famous Americans. And they started targeting him for that. Now it just seems like now they're targeting you just because you're conservative. They're going to try to get you on something. Do you even know the other students? Do you have an idea of who they're questioning?
No, and I don't believe that any of them would back that story up. I mean, they may say, well, yeah, he was teaching about communism, but
Right.
I don't teach political ideology in my class. I don't tell students I'm conservative, and I want them to be conservative. I know that's not allowed, and I wouldn't do it.
So this brings us to the book. You wrote a book, self-published a book about this whole ordeal that you've been through, and you put it up on Amazon. And I'm trying to understand why in the world, because Amazon banned it. They've banned the book. And they were claiming that the content was quote unquote offensive. Yet I don't know what would be offensive in it. You have no remedy. We're left with no remedy on this at all. And there's right now, Juan is showing the post that William had up on X about this. So they were saying they had a number of issues with your book. The craziest to me is that they were trying to claim that Kirk is still alive. And that was one of their other big objections with your book.
Yeah, that was actually an expert, so-called expert KDP, which is Kindle Direct Publishing Division of Amazon, which is what I went through to publish the book on to get it on Amazon. And this expert, I guess he ran all that through AI because Kane pointed it out, and I thought it was kind of weird too that they would say that Charlie Kirk was still alive, but it mentioned that that statement about him in the book about being assassinated was one of the triggers that Amazon could have been a trigger for Amazon.
That is, I mean, I was looking at the summary that the AI gave as well, and it seems like, as Kane wrote in his post on it that's up at Substack, that it was like, it's really a misrepresentation. I mean, it's a malicious misrepresentation of what you're doing. you objected, but or even can you object? I mean, what is even the course of action? Because my understanding is that they left you no remedy.
Right, and they won't even answer emails. Well, they vaguely answered one of my emails. I've emailed them several times to ask them to at least point out some things that they consider offensive. And the only email I got back from them was an email that stated that they stand by their decision.
They stand. So the book is banned. There's no. Could you? I don't know if there's like a resubmission process or anything that you can do, but as of
Yeah,
now, it's banned.
well, they threatened me that if I resubmitted the same book, that I would lose my privileges with Amazon, publishing on Amazon.
But I thought that it was only supposed to be the right that banned books, right? Wasn't that the big old thing in Florida? They were accusing all the conservatives in Florida of
The
banning
book
books,
ban.
and here you got a book banned, and it's not the way that the narrative went.
Right.
I'm sure that you have received support from members in the community and some other families and students in your school district.
Yes, overwhelming support. And when I was going through this poster incident, I received emails and phone calls from people all over the country, a lot of them teachers and some of them just citizens who admired what I was doing for the students. But what troubled me was a few teachers that told me that I was brave and they wished they could be that brave. And it just made me think, why can't they? It's a shame that teachers are afraid of districts. They're afraid of teaching the truth. And that got me to start a nonprofit. I started a nonprofit organization called the Freedom to Think Project. And what we're going to do starting in January is we're going to have seminars and meetings. We're going to have speaker events where we're going to have teachers that tell their stories about their fights with the districts. And we're going to have some constitutional law attorneys speaking to them. And I want to try to encourage as many teachers as I can to, stand up for their students, because this generation coming up it's so important for us to stand up for them.
I think that's incredibly important because we always hear about very left-leaning educators, but we never hear the stories, and I know they exist, of those who are not left-leaning and are very quietly persecuted by the district or their colleagues just simply for not subscribing to a progressive worldview.
Mm-hmm.
And especially in Florida, where there was so much made of educators there and Florida law and education, and just very conveniently they're ignoring your plight. I know you probably can't talk a lot about it if there is, but do you have a plan for a legal response, or is that something that you're looking to pursue?
Well, not at this time. I've asked several people about it, and it's pretty much Amazon can do what they want because I self-published it.
Right.
I when I finished the first couple of chapters, I sent them off to a couple of traditional publishers, and I didn't hear anything back. So I went ahead I wanted to get the book out there, so I self-published it. And when you do that with Amazon, you're pretty much under their control with it. So
Yeah.
I'm hoping that I can find a different avenue to get the book published. How ironic it would be if I got it published and then they put it on Amazon for
Right.
sale.
Exactly. Well, that's what was my last question for you is where can people get that book? And right now they can't. So we're going to be following up with you to see, to follow up and see how that happens. I've reached out to Attorney General Uthmire's office, James Uthmire, and waiting to hear back from them because I just feel like, especially with all the stuff that was said about Florida education and the legislation, and they made it sound like all progressive teachers were in the political crosshairs. I mean, you're the only one that actually is being persecuted, and I mean, really in the court of public opinion, prosecuted by the district simply because you just happen to privately think the way that you do, which is antithetical to what this nation is all about. William Loggins, the book we're going to follow this, and we'll follow back up with you as well. But I really appreciate your stance on this because it's easy to be quiet and just go along to get along, and you're refusing to do that, which that's where the difference is made. So we really appreciate you for doing that, and God bless you. We'll follow up again and have you back.
Thank you, Dana.
Of course. Thank you. It's good to talk with you.